I just recently had my record collection taken out of storage. It had been in storage for about a year because my house was being renovated. But after the renovation, I got this nice new handmade record cabinet. It was handmade by the same local handyman who's been doing the renovations to my house. His name is Travis the Handyman. So if you're in the Twin Cities area, I highly recommend that you check him out. He did the custom work to build this record cabinet for me. And anyway, I just got my records out of storage, and so right now I plan to go through the boxes one by one. They're in alphabetical order, and I'm just going to open them up one by one and see what happens. I'm going to open the box. Let's see if we can get a shot of me opening the box. Okay. So let's see. What's in the box? What's in the box? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the way it works is the first alphabetically are on the left, and because I put them spines outward, and the last alphabetically are on the right. So I guess I'll just start from the left. And so this one, not a lot of people have this. It is a record by Melinda Abbass. It is a Canadian record. It's mainly a mid 1960s soul music record. When white people sing soul music, it's sometimes called blue-eyed soul. I guess that's something you could call it that. Some of it, I guess, could be called northern soul, although most people who collect northern soul tend to prefer collecting 45s instead of LPs. Anywho, this is a teenage girl named Melinda Abbass. She is, according to the back liner notes, she was 15 at the time that this record was made, and she is a Canadian, or was a Canadian of Lebanese and Italian descent, and she does some interesting songs here. A lot of 1960s rock. She does a cover version of the Jarmels, a little bit of Soap. She does a cover version of the Swinging Medallions, Double Shot of My Baby's Love. That's a hard song to find cover versions of, so I like it when I can find a cover version of that. But anyway, this is a very important record because it is the first in my collection alphabetically. Melinda Abbass, ABB. Very, very hard not to get more close to the beginning of the alphabet than that. And let's see what we got here. And let's see. This one is a record I got from a half-price bookstore. It was hanging on the wall. It is a very unusual Christian children's record with characters on it that are like different weather formations. So there's a wind character, and there's some raindrop characters, and a snowflake character. It's really bizarre little collectible there. So some of the stuff I have is just plain weird, as you can see. Now, I think this one is in the proper alphabetical order. So this is African musical instruments. It's on a record label called Ash, ASCH, Ash Records. But Ash Records is a folk label that was associated with the Folkways record label, and the gentleman who is credited on this record he did a lot of children's records with African instruments. He also did a lot of jazz records. His name is Bilal Abdurrahman. I hope I said that right. Bilal Abdurrahman, although it's spelled Bilal Abdurrahman on this record. So I guess some of his records they didn't even spell his name right. But basically, he's a jazz guy who had a specialty in African percussion instruments, and I think this instrument was actually aimed at children, showing them different kinds of instruments. You know, something that a music teacher would play in music class when they still had turntables. So anyway, I like a lot of records from Folkways Records. And so if you like field recordings and just about any sort of ethnic music you can think of, Folkways is a very good record label to check out. Ooh, and this one. I still haven't opened this one. I still haven't unsealed this one. But this is another by Bilal Abdurrahman. I need to unseal this and actually listen to it. But it's called Echoes of Timbuktu and Congo Square, African American Musical Roots Revisited. So definitely this Bilal Abdurrahman, very cool guy. Very amazing stuff. And I have some more Bilal Abdurrahman records. And let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, here. This is from a guy named Jairam Acharya, and it's called Sitar Goes Latin. It is an Indian record that has a lot, but the twist is the concept behind the record is that the sitar is playing a lot of Latin music or Spanish language music. So they have quizás and Bésame mucho. Although for some reason they also have Miserlou on it as well. Miserlou is a very common. I think Miserlou is from the Mediterranean or Middle Eastern region. It's also the name of the surf guitar instrumental that plays over the credits of Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. But Miserlou before that, before it was a surf guitar instrumental, it was a very common melody in the Middle Eastern and Mediterranean region. It was a very common folk melody. And so if you can find records with a cover version of Miserlou on it, I encourage you to get it, because usually it's very hard to do a bad cover version of that. And let's see. What else have we got here? And here's a good punk record. The Adverts. Crossing the Red Sea with the Adverts. And this one has punk was a little different in the UK in that in the late 70s there were actually a couple of punk acts that had top 40 hits, and States until the 90s, but it happened in the 70s in the UK, and this one has some of their big hits like One Chord Wonders. Unfortunately, it doesn't have their hit Gary Gilmore's Eyes on it, but still a good punk record. And let's see what we got here. And, oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. This is music. Not exactly in the best of shape, but I'm just glad to have a copy of it. It's called Music from Lil Brown. The name of the band is called Africa. A lot of DJs and hip hop people like this record because it has some drum breaks on it. It's kind of psychedelic soul. Psychedelic soul is kind of a subgenre I like. I mean, I like psychedelic music in general, but psychedelic soul, where they play psychedelic music with an African or an African American feel. I like that a lot. And this is actually, the name is a bit of a parody or tribute to the band's first album, Music from Big Pink. So instead of Music from Big Pink, where you have a big pink house, this is Music from Lil Brown, and they have a little tiny brown house on the cover. And then, so I like to collect a lot of exotica and a lot of music from all parts of the world. So this is African Juju Witchcraft. I believe these were some recordings that were in public domain, so I think they have been re-released under a bunch of different names and titles. And Somakasa by Afrique. This is a good record. In very good shape too. They also had a 45 under the name The Chibucos, which was called Witch Doctor Funk. So this is some good funky stuff. Let's see. Some more African drum records, like so. And let's see. What else we got here? Oh my goodness. Oh, this is an amazing group. So what you're seeing here is basically, it's like one of those Shroud of Turin pictures of the face of Jesus. It is and the name of the band, you can't see it on the front cover, but the name of the band is called Agape. And Agape was one of the first major Christian rock bands from the late 60s, early 70s. I sometimes like to call this genre more fuzz tone for Jesus. I mean, one of the reasons is these guys are so zealously committed to their religion that they just pile on extra fuzz tone and pile on extra heavy guitar because they are serious. They are serious about, converting people to Jesus and Christianity and whatever, and it's reflected in the music, and so it's actually really good. So this is Agape, and Agape, that was the self-titled debut of Agape, but I have another Agape record here called Victims of Tradition, and this just has an amazing cover of the band playing in a graveyard. I guess it's supposed to be about like resurrection because of Jesus or something. But I mean, look at that cover. Look at that cover. Look at how metal that cover is. And actually, the music does live up to the cover. So that's very, very good. And what else we got here? Oh my goodness. This is one. This is one I got a long time ago. It's salty. I got this in trade from a record store called. I guess it was worth $100 back then, so it was expensive even back then. But I got it in trade, and it's an album by Abbass. So this is considered. I've heard it called proto psychedelia. I've heard it called exotica. It is. It is very much music that almost can't be pigeonholed, but it is very. The music is like an exotic soundscape in your mind. So, who is Eden Abbass? Eden Abbass was part of a subculture called the Nature Boys. These were like proto hippies that went back as far as the 1940s, and they would live in the woods and they would grow their hair out. So this is like 1961, 1962. So this guy looks like he's from 1968 or 1967, but it's a record from 61 or 62, and it is amazing. And Eden Abbass is mainly known for writing a song. So he was from a subculture called the Nature Boys, who believed in eating natural foods and living out in the woods and growing your hair out and not wearing synthetic clothes and the whole thing. So they were a little ahead of their time on that stuff. But he was part of the Nature Boys, but he also wrote a song called Nature Boy, which is a very famous song. It became a very famous song when Nat King Cole sang it. And it has a great line in it. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is how to love and be loved in return. And this record is just so amazing. It's so rare, but it's just so amazing, and I feel very privileged to have it. It's called Eden's Island by Eden Abbass. The guy was just a complete visionary, and the record sounds like none other. And I guess most of you will probably have to settle for a reissue of this, but if you ever do see this pop up at a record show or in a garage sale, if you're that lucky, do indeed get it, because you'll be glad you did. Oh my goodness, this looks like a real trip right here. Santa Claus is a Black Man by Akeem and the Teddy Van Production Company. I mean, can you not love? How can you not love that cover? Yeah, so it is a Christmas record that offers you Happy Kwanzaa and Merry Christmas. This is definitely the kind of record. They're very insistent that Santa Claus is a black man, so it's definitely the kind of record that gives Fox News personalities conniption fits, even today in 2021. But I just think, like, conceptually, I'm just so glad a record like this exists. So this is just amazing. Yeah. And let's see, what do we have? What do we have? Get it real. This Alexander Rabbit. It's kind of a. I think it was partially based on Alice in Wonderland. Mainly bringing this out because I lucked out. I found it for 50 cents at a flea market many years ago. But it's very good pop psych. So if you find it, definitely check it out. And let's see. Ooh, here's another. This is a more novelty record. It's Ali, Muhammad Ali, and his gang versus Mr. Tooth Decay. So this is Muhammad Ali and his gang fighting the evil menace of Tooth Decay because, Muhammad Ali, he's such a good fighter, he can just punch Tooth Decay and Tooth Decay will be gone. And, people in the 70s were very concerned about, whether children had good dental hygiene. And found this at a garage sale once. Yeah, I think I found this in the back of a barn, but it's Alice in Wonderland. The label is very important because the label is HBR. HBR stands for Hanna-Barbera Records, so it's a record company that was affiliated with the cartoon company, and so they have a bunch of full-length albums that have some interesting. They're associated with various cartoons and stuff. But if you see HBR on 45, that's what you really want to get because HBR, in addition to all the cartoon stuff, they were putting out some very nice 45 RPM records associated with garage bands, and there's some nice Northern Soul records on the HBR label. So definitely, I would encourage you to check all of that out. So definitely give it a listen. All God's Children. This is another Christian record I have, but it's actually pretty poppy. It reminds me almost of some of the Phil Spector, Beach Boys, Pet Sounds music, but it's with a chorus of children, and it's a Christian record. But there's some very interesting bits of music on this. This is what record collectors call a private press. So if you haven't heard of what a private press is, it's kind of like vanity publishing for records. So private presses are usually a very interesting thing to get interested in, and there's even there's probably some private pressings out there that even haven't been discovered yet. So I can probably talk about this further, but I'll move on to some more records. And let's see. So this is an interesting guy, Sheldon Allman. Folk songs for the 21st century. So this is a guy. So this one has some great titles on it: Radioactive Mama, Rocket to the Moon, Univac and the Humanoid, Girl in the Fourth Dimension, Schizophrenic Baby, Crawl Out Through the Fallout. This is kind of a novelty record that pretends to be a folk music record, but like a folk music record from outer space. So lots of really crazy, concepts. So some of these records are really crazy on a conceptual level, and that's just what I like so much. And this is Horror Tales, told by Sheldon Allman. So it's the same guy. So one record he does is a science fiction folk record. This one is he's reciting horror. So it's all over the map. Definitely all over the map. And this was a relatively recent discovery of mine. I think I bought this off a guy from Canada on the internet. Canada is a really good place to buy records from because the Canadian dollar is weak compared to the American dollar. So if you can get, throw our Canadian record dealers some love. So, because it's a win-win situation for all of us. But anyway, Altec, The Sound of Experience. So this is so half of the record is, I think, synthesizer stuff. And then there's a guy giving a speech at, I guess they sold stereo speakers, and so it's basically the head of the company giving this speech, basically like the free enterprise system gives me the power to bring speakers to the whole world. Lots of great corny stuff. If you like spoken word records that you can sample and things like that. So, very interesting stuff if you can find it. And let's see. Oh, yes. The Amboy Dukes. Not totally super obscure, but it is a group that it was Ted Nugent's first major group that he was with, and he was associated with the group. They had a one-hit wonder called Journey to the Center of the Mind, and they were one of the more successful acts on Mainstream Records. Mainstream is a record. There's some very good jazz stuff and like boogaloo and kind of R&B jazz flavored on Mainstream, more towards the early 70s. But in the 60s, they were a very good psychedelic label, and some of their bands on the label had hits, others did not. The ones that didn't have hits are very collectible, yet some of them are still very good musically. This is another Amboy Dukes record. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You'll see all the pipes, as in hash pipes, bong pipes, on the front cover. Ted Nugent is very anti-drug, but the other Amboy Dukes, not so much. And, this is one. It's probably something I just found off. Nobody was looking for it, but I bought it off some guy from Kentucky, of all places, on eBay. But it's a record. It's a psychedelic record from France, believe it or not. And I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it right, but never hurts to go looking for what you're looking for on eBay, because sometimes the record you want somehow lands into the hands of a person who doesn't even know what they have, and nobody else is looking for it, and you end up getting it for a good price because it's under the radar for everybody else. So, anyway, this was a good buy for me. And let's see. Avatar. American Avatar is this record. This is a record associated, so it takes vocals. So the American Avatar record, it's a very weird story behind it, but the vocals are from a folk singer by the name of Lisa Kindred, but they were stolen. They were stolen by a group called the Lyman Family out of Boston. This is the people on the back, the Lyman Family. The Lyman Family was a really creepy, hippie religious cult in Boston. They were profiled by Rolling Stone in the early 1970s, and let me just say they were really creepy. Once they were asked about the Manson family, and they said, the Manson family says they believe in peace and love. We don't believe in peace and love. Okay, then. Yeah, basically, really creepy people. But at least, I guess, they didn't kill anybody that we know of. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So here's a great krautrock record. I got this, oh my God, so many years ago. But it was such a good deal at the time. $20 or less. But this is Amon Duel, and what's unusual about this is so Amon Duel, pretty hardcore krautrock, German progressive rock, but it's like this one is just like swirling, propulsive psychedelic music. It's like formless but swirling and propulsive and just sort of, I don't know. It may not be for everybody, but it just really speaks to me. And Alman Duel, they were some pretty crazy German dudes. They were definitely one of the first bands to have the umlaut associated with heavy metal music. And this one is interesting because it is one of the first American pressings of the German progressive rock band Alman Duel. Ooh, this is good. This is good. Amral's Trinidad Cavaliers Steel Orchestra. As you will see when we get through more boxes, I like steel drum band music. This one I got partially because they do a version of Santana's Oye Como Va, and the Beastie Boys actually sampled from this steel drum record. I believe it's on the song Super Disco Breakin'. It's definitely a very funky steel drum record, not as touristy, more on the funky side than the touristy side, which I like. So, good steel drum record. Emerald's Trinidad Cavaliers Steel Orchestra. And let's see. Oh, this one's very bizarre. Novelty record, Music to Suffer By. It's by a woman named Leora Anderson. She kind of has a very froggy voice and sings like this, and so that's why it's a novelty record. And ooh, this is good. This is good. So. Julie Andrews and Martin Green Tell It Again, Songs of Sense and Nonsense. This record is notable less for Julie Andrews being on it, although if you are a fan of the actress Julie Andrews, certainly feel free to see if you can find a copy. But one of the things on this record is it happens to have the classic avant-garde composer, jazz, street musician Moondog. A guy, his birth name was Louis Hardin, but he went by the name Moondog, and he was an avant-garde composer, jazz musician, and also a street musician who would basically have these beards and dress up like a Viking, and a very weird dude. But also a guy who kind of did a lot of beatnik avant-garde jazz in the 50s and 60s that definitely is worth your time. The Andromeda Strain. That's I think circa 1970s. Circa 1970s sci-fi movie with electronic keyboard. I love electronic music, so this is early I like the early electronic music. I don't know if I can keep up with all that electronic dance music and stuff. But early electronic music, a lot of music from the 50s through the 80s that was electronic, the pioneering stuff. I'm definitely really into that. There is a more gimmicky cover of the Andromeda Strain, which is in a hexagonal shape. Unfortunately, I do not have that cover variant, but maybe someday I can exchange this version, this regular version, for hexagonal, the gimmick cover. And then, okay, Angel, Angel, Down We Go. So almost every 1960s or 70s soundtrack with the word angel in it is usually some bizarre exploitation movie or some bizarre biker movie, and you should check it out. These are often cases where the soundtrack is much better than the movie. Although I actually have seen Angel, Angel, Down We Go. Let me just say it was an experience. It's a very bizarre movie. So Angel, Angel, Down We Go. It's a soundtrack recording, and one of the things that's it's got a lot of great, kind of psychedelic-y tunes on it, psychedelic instrumentals, but it also has just crazy dialogue from the movie on the soundtrack as well. I mean, there's stuff that you could sample from this for days and days. There's like, your father is not a homosexual, and it's just absolutely insane madness on wax. So very much a crazy soundtrack record that I enjoy a great deal. And let's see. Oh, another angle. So this is another angle on harpsichord by Don Angle. I don't think this cost me much money. It might have been even like $5, $10, maybe $15 at most. I mainly got it because one of the things that I collect are cover versions of Beatles songs. So this one has a cover version of Norwegian Wood that's on harpsichord. Oh, and it also has A Hard Day's Night on harpsichord. So if you want to hear a rare example of the Beatles played on harpsichord, this is one of those records that can fill the bill for you. It's this Animal Edition. This one is about. I guess this is just a kid's record. I'm not even sure I've opened this, but I collect kids records from the '70s. A lot of kids music from the '70s. It's just really, really weird. I mean, being a Gen Xer, a lot of the children's television programming I grew up with was written by people who were still suffering from acid flashbacks, and so I have a fascination with 60s and 1970s era children's records for that reason. And but anyway, this is mostly numbers and animals and monkeys and stuff. I'll have to open it to see what's in it. Here's a sound effects record. It's on the Nonesuch Explorer series. So Nonesuch is a record label that Nonesuch was an offshoot of Elektra. Elektra, one of the major labels in the 1960s and 70s. Elektra is now part of the Warner Brothers behemoth, and I'm not even sure Warner Brothers is part of Warner Brothers anymore because of corporate monopolization. Anywho, but this is Animals of Africa. A lot of field recordings of African animals. Just what it says on the tin. So if you like to hear sound effects of African animals, that's what it is. And here. Oh my God, this may be the best record in the entire box. Okay, that agape with them playing in the graveyard. My God, it's great music and the cover's totally metal. But this is also top notch right here. So this is the animated egg. Check out that swirly, psychedelic cover. I think the photo is not of the actual band. I think it's a generic. So this is the animated egg, one reason why it's collectible is this one is on I guess this is a Canadian press, and it was on a record called Somerset. Was it on Somerset or Allshire? It was on both, actually. So this one, okay, this one was on Allshire, and it's this one. It's an all instrumental psychedelic guitar fuzz tone blasting, shape shifting, just amazing, brain melting, acid, flashback, psychedelic guitar instrumentals. It was actually taken from tapes that were stolen from a guy named Jerry Cole. Jerry Cole was a guy from the Los Angeles Wrecking Crew, a group of famous studio musicians. And Jerry Cole also was in a lot of surf rock groups. He was in a group called the Astronauts, and he was in a group called Jerry Cole and the Commotions. So this is a record that's like, where the psychedelic guitar work has a connection to all the guitar pyrotechnics of the surf guitar era. So the virtuosity on the guitar is top notch, and it's on a budget label called Allshire. It was also released on a label called Somerset, and that was also a budget label. And actually, the budget label took the songs, the instrumental songs from the animated egg sessions, and repackaged them under different titles for multiple items, so that they could basically increase sales out of the same tapes, which they had stolen. But anyway, it's unfortunate for Jerry Cole because he didn't necessarily get the royalties he should have gotten back when he played this stuff. But it's an amazing psychedelic guitar instrumental record. Some of the titles, let me just mention some of the titles for you. A Love Built on Sand, I Said, She Said, Said, like acid, Surelistic, instead of surrealistic, Surelistic, Sippin' and Trippin', and Down, Down, and Gone, and Sock It My Way. And in fact, the titles are a bit corny, but thankfully the instrumentals actually don't just live up to the titles, they're better than the titles. So it's a really great record. And here, this is a good one. This one didn't send me back too much, but that was because I bought it a long time ago. I think the cost of this might have gone up. It's on the Columbia in the Adventures in Sound series. I don't know if you can see up top here. It says Adventures in Sound. Adventures in Sound was a series that Columbia did in the 1950s that was designed to test the limits of people's stereo speakers, basically. And so anything that's on the Adventures of Sound has amazingly good sound quality. And this is Portrait of Lita by a singer named Lita Anist. She's just absolutely breathtaking in that sort of classic 50s beauty style. But she's a little like Ima Sumac in that she has all these unusual vocalizations and can sing really high notes. And in fact, you might not even realize you're listening to a 1950s record, but it's absolutely just amazing. So Lita Anist, an amazing, this mainly fits in the exotica genre, but if you're an exotica collector, you definitely want something like Lita Anist, Portrait of Lita. This one. This is George Antheil. He was an avant-garde composer, and it's ballet mécanique. So this is a 20th century classical music or modern classical music record. If you're into rock or just rock, don't look down at all modern classical stuff. Some modern classical stuff is very, very innovative and influences a lot of the rock people you like. But anyway, ballet mécanique was created. Basically, this guy created a player piano and a bunch of instruments tied up to it, and he had it so that it would play mechanically without any musicians playing it, and it's amazing. And anyway, it's very important that the composition used player piano rolls because eventually George Antheil teamed up with the Hollywood actress Hedy Lamarr in the 1940s to use player piano rolls to develop a technology that would allow torpedoes to hit Nazi U-boats and sink Nazi boats without the Nazis being able to tune into the frequency of those radio-controlled torpedoes. Unfortunately, the technology was not used during World War II, but the technology that he developed with Hedy Lamarr is now used as the basis for spreadable spectrum. Sorry, can't talk right now. Spreadable spectrum technology used in cellular phones and mobile phones. And let's see. Chest X-ray. This is a group called aorta. I might as well just put it up next to my chest like a chest X-ray. And let's see. And coming very close to the end of the box. So yeah, this is a relatively cheap one to get, but it's a good Apollo 100. It had this was a group that had a big hit back in the 70s called Joy. It was basically a synthesizer version of Beethoven's Ode to Joy. You can hear that song on the soundtrack of Boogie Nights. I believe it's playing while the camera is doing a 360-degree pan around Dirk Diggler's room when he still lives at home with his mom before his mom kicks him out. So, but anyway, this is a relatively cheap record. But if you're interested in finding some older electronic music, this is definitely a record you should try to pick up. And let's see what we got here. So this is the final one in the box. Apple Jam. Beatles magic made by Apple Jam. So I've already mentioned I like to collect cover versions by the Beatles. So one of the things I like to collect are albums that are all Beatles covers. And so this is an album of nothing but Beatles covers. And two very blonde women on the front cover. And the reason I got it was recommended to me by a dealer. But the reason I got it is Apple Jam does all these Beatles covers in a sort of 1970s ABBA meets disco style. So it's very ABBA. If you're into ABBA, and like these Nordic blonde women kind of give the clue that they're trying to go for an ABBA vibe here. But this one it's all Beatles covers. It has Can't Buy Me Love, She Loves You, Eleanor Rigby, I Want to Hold Your Hand, Obla Di Obla Da, A Hard Night, Paperback Writer, Lady Madonna, I Should Have Known Better, and All I Love It. So a lot of the early Beatles stuff, but done sort of ABBA, 1970s ABBA disco style. So definitely, definitely it appeals to me. I don't know if it will appeal to you, but if you like that sort of thing, it's the sort of thing you will like. So that is the last album in my first box.